Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
The annals of American history are often punctuated by stories of struggle, resilience, and the intricate web of relationships that have defined the social and political landscape of the continent. Among these tales lies the fascinating and underexplored connection between the Black Seminoles and Spanish Florida. This narrative is one of survival, mutual reliance, and cultural exchange that defied the rigid racial hierarchies of the era. It is a story that emerges from the crucible of colonization, enslavement, and resistance, weaving together the fates of African-descended people and Native American tribes in the swamps and savannas of the southeastern United States. To understand the profound bond between the Black Seminoles and Spanish Florida, one must first delve into the turbulent history of the region. Florida, as a Spanish colony, was both a land of opportunity and a frontier of peril. Its sweltering heat, dense marshlands, and dangerous wildlife made it a challenging environment. Yet it was also a place where the Spanish crown extended its offer of sanctuary to enslaved Africans fleeing English plantations. This policy, though rooted in Spain's geopolitical ambitions, provided a glimmer of hope to countless individuals who sought freedom at all costs. The Spanish policy of offering asylum to escaped slaves, which began in the late 17th century, laid the foundation for the unique relationship that would blossom between the Black Seminoles and Spanish Florida. By promising liberty to those who converted to Catholicism and pledged loyalty to the Spanish crown, Spain positioned Florida as a beacon of liberation in the eyes of the enslaved. These individuals risked everything to escape the brutality of English colonies, trekking through hostile terrain in search of freedom. For many, the journey led them to St. Augustine, the oldest continuously inhabited European established settlement in what is now the United States. Here, in the shadow of Spanish forts and under the watchful eyes of colonial officials, former slaves began to carve out new lives. Yet, freedom in Spanish Florida was not without its complexities. While the Spanish crown's policy provided a pathway to liberation, it also required loyalty and integration into the colonial system. For African-descended people, this meant navigating the dual expectations of serving as loyal subjects while maintaining their cultural identity. Over time, many of these individuals moved further into the Floridian wilderness, seeking to establish communities away from the direct control of Spanish authorities. It was in this wilderness that the Black Seminoles found common cause with the Seminole people, a Native American tribe that had emerged from the remnants of various indigenous groups displaced by European colonization. The Seminoles themselves were a mosaic of cultures and traditions, shaped by centuries of migration and adaptation. By the early 18th century, they had established themselves in Florida, utilizing the region's challenging environment to resist subjugation by colonial powers. When African refugees began arriving in Seminole territory, the two groups found themselves united by shared experiences of displacement and oppression. The bond that developed between the Black Seminoles and the Seminole people was extraordinary in its depth and complexity. It transcended the transactional relationships often seen in other alliances of convenience. Instead, it evolved into a genuine partnership characterized by mutual respect and interdependence. African refugees brought with them skills and knowledge that were invaluable to the Seminoles, including agricultural expertise, familiarity with European trade goods, and the ability to navigate the legal and diplomatic intricacies of colonial systems. In return, the Seminoles offered sanctuary, cultural acceptance, and the protection of their collective strength. Life in these integrated communities was marked by a blending of African and indigenous traditions. The Black Seminoles, while retaining elements of their African heritage, also adopted many aspects of Seminole culture. They participated in the tribe's social and political structures, contributed to its economy, and fought alongside the Seminoles in defense of their shared homeland. Over time, these communities developed a distinct identity, one that reflected the fusion of their diverse roots. Their language, music, and spiritual practices bore the imprint of both African and Seminole influences, creating a unique cultural tapestry that defied the rigid racial categories imposed by colonial society. Spanish Florida's role in this story cannot be overstated. As a colonial power, Spain sought to leverage the presence of escaped slaves and their alliances with native tribes as a counterbalance to English expansionism. The Spanish authorities recognized the strategic value of the Black Seminoles and their Seminole allies, viewing them as a buffer against incursions from the English colonies to the north. This pragmatic approach led to the tacit acceptance of these communities' autonomy, allowing them to thrive in the relative safety of Spanish-controlled territory. However, the shifting tides of geopolitics would soon disrupt this delicate balance. The transfer of Florida from Spanish to British control in 1763 and then back to Spain in 1783 created an atmosphere of uncertainty for the Black Seminoles and their allies. Each change in colonial administration brought new challenges and threats, as the policies of the ruling power shaped the fate of these communities. The most significant upheaval came in 1821, when Florida was ceded to the United States. For the Black Seminoles, the arrival of American rule marked the beginning of a relentless campaign to strip them of their freedom and land. Under U.S. jurisdiction, the Black Seminoles faced increasing pressure to relocate or submit to re-enslavement. American officials viewed their existence as an affront to the institution of slavery and a threat to the social order. This hostility culminated in the series of conflicts known as the Seminole Wars, which spanned much of the early 19th century. These wars were among the most protracted and costly conflicts in American history, pitting the U.S. government against a coalition of Seminoles and Black Seminoles determined to resist removal. The Black Seminoles played a crucial role in these wars, serving as warriors, scouts, and diplomats. Their knowledge of the terrain and ability to forge alliances with other groups proved invaluable to the resistance effort. Despite their courage and determination, the relentless pressure of American military campaigns eventually forced many Seminoles and Black Seminoles to relocate to Indian Territory, present-day Oklahoma. Even in exile, they continued to assert their identity and maintain their cultural traditions, ensuring that the legacy of their alliance endured. The story of the Black Seminoles and Spanish Florida is one of resilience and adaptation. It is a testament to the human capacity for forging connections across cultural divides and standing united in the face of adversity. Their journey from enslavement to freedom, from isolation to alliance, and from persecution to persistence reflects the broader struggles of African and indigenous peoples in the Americas. It is a narrative that challenges conventional understandings of race, identity, and resistance, offering a glimpse into the complexities of a history too often overlooked. Today, the legacy of the Black Seminoles endures in the cultural and historical consciousness of their descendants. Their contributions to the Seminole community, their role in the fight for freedom, and their place in the broader history of Spanish Florida remain a source of inspiration and pride. By remembering their story, we honor not only their struggles but also their triumphs, ensuring that the lessons of their resilience continue to resonate for generations to come.